A contradictory position states that our thinking is produced by the material processes in the brain, but the brain is produced by the thinking of our I. They say the materialists are right in declaring our mind to be the product of matter, in that thinking is the product of purely material processes in the brain.
There are 100 billion neurons in the brain. Each neuron, like a bit player in a grand production, processes its information, then hooks up with as many as 50,000 other neurons to send and receive messages. 100 billion neurons times 50,000 connections. It's this complexity that allows us to think imaginatively. On their own, neurons aren't very bright. But put 100 billion of them together in a small space and let them all start talking to each other, and you start to get brainstorms. The trillions of neural networks, like an improvisational orchestra, create new ideas and connect different thoughts in a whimsical and sometimes inspired fashion.
But this view also holds that conversely, our physical brain matter is a product of our mind.
We believe in the existence of objects just because we see and touch them, and they are reflected to us by our perceptions. However, our perceptions are only ideas in our mind. Thus, objects we captivate by perceptions are nothing but ideas, and these ideas are essentially in nowhere but our mind. Since all these exist only in the mind, then it means that we are beguiled by deceptions when we imagine the universe and things to have an existence outside the mind. After all these physical facts arises the question of primary importance. If all physical events that we know are intrinsically perceptions, what about our brain? Since our brain is a matter just like our arms, legs, or any other object, it also must be a perception just like all other objects. An example will illuminate the subject further. Let us think that we extend the nerves reaching our brain and put it outside our head, where we can see it with our eyes. In this case, we would be able to see also our brain and touch it with our fingers. This way, we can understand that our brain is also nothing but a perception formed by the senses of vision and touch.
This mind-matter contradiction is nothing more than the story, in philosophical terms, of the brave Baron Munchausen, who lifts himself and his horse up in the air by his own pigtail. The third form of monism is the one which finds even in the simplest entity, the atom, both matter and spirit already united. But how does an atom manifest itself in two contrasting ways, in thinking and in the phenomena of the external world, if it is an indivisible unity? Against all these theories, we must emphasize the fact that we encounter the basic and primary opposition first in our own consciousness. It is we ourselves who break away from the mother ground of nature and contrast ourselves as I with the world.
Remember the night? The first time I went out scrambling with the rebels. Remember?
What do you want me to do? Send you some flowers? What's the matter, Kathy? I was only trying to...
As true as it is that we have estranged ourselves from nature, it is just as true that we feel we are in her and belong to her. It can only be her own working that pulsates also in us.
We find that nature is the foundation of all of our rhythms, that we are nature, that as I'm breathing out, the plants are breathing in. As I'm breathing in the molecules from the plants. That we're always affected deeply by everything in nature. The water, the sky, the trees, plants.
We can find nature outside us only if we have first learned to know her within us. What is akin to her within us must be our guide. This marks our path of inquiry. We will not engage in any speculations, but will rather probe into the depths of our own being. The investigation of our own being must give us a solution to the riddle. We must reach a point where we can say, here we are no longer merely I, here is something which is more than I. I have so far not been concerned with scientific results of any kind, but only with the simple descriptions of what we all experience in our own consciousness.
For those first 300 years, science, the natural sciences, established a reputation, a spectacular reputation, well-earned reputation, for studying objective, quantifiable, physical phenomena. Objective, quantifiable, physical phenomena. So you can bring in the full weight of mathematics, the technology which is there, starting from the telescope, moving right through all the extraordinary advances in technology. But mental phenomena, emotions, thoughts, mental images, desires, memories, expectations, the whole array, visual perception, auditory, mental perception, dreams, these are not objective, they're subjective. They're not quantifiable, they're qualitative. They're not clearly physical. I mean, the last time you've had a dream, look at the contents of the dream and ask, what physical attributes do the contents of your dream have? And the answer is none. Or your emotions, your desires, your hopes and fears, your feelings, your thoughts and mental images. They don't have any physical attributes at all. You observe them, and they're not physical. We have gotten extremely good using scientific method to explore the objective, quantifiable, physical. And now can we take this same expertise, this same methodological rigor, and apply it to that which is by nature subjective, qualitative, and perhaps non-physical. And he said, let's do it in a way, the old-fashioned way. And that is, let psychology be, above all, the study of mental phenomena as we experience them immediately. And for that, like physics, like biology, let us catalyze a revolution in the mind sciences. Let us start and do it the old-fashioned way, carefully, meticulously, rigorously observe the phenomena themselves. Somebody in Korea said they've cloned a dog, they've done this and this. Good, let's replicate it. Whoops, that was a phony. So write them off, get back to work. But this is what scientists are doing all the time. Somebody makes a claim, replicate it. And this is exactly what the Buddha encouraged. He said, these are my discoveries, but don't just take my word for it. See if you can replicate it.
I have not been concerned with how the scholars of philosophy and psychology have interpreted consciousness, but only with the way in which we experience it from moment to moment in our everyday life.
To some level, to some rudimentary level, right now you can have some idea what's going on in your mind. Are there a lot of thoughts arising? Are you falling asleep? And so forth. So emotional states, cognitive states, the focus of your attention, the scatteredness of your attention. But what both William James and Wilhelm Wundt, these two giants on the two sides of the Atlantic Ocean, were suggesting is, take your folk psychology, your folk untrained introspection, and start refining it, honing it, intensifying it. Make this a sophisticated method of inquiry. This is the battle cry. This is the great challenge for the mind sciences.